I've been doing art, I should say, all my life, because as far back as I can remember, I was an artist. My name is James Gayles. Now, I grew up in the 60s. I lived in New York, which was the epicenter for a lot of stuff in the village, the East Village and the West Village. My dad was a janitor. My mom was cleaning woman, but they worked really hard to put me and my sister through school. She put me in Catholic school, which I was the only black kid in the class. This is in Newark, New Jersey. Now, it was not just a white school, it was an Italian-American white school. And in Newark, the Italians and the blacks didn't get along. We were always fighting. There was always race riots and stuff. Because, Italians are very passionate people. Black people are very passionate people. And we clashed a lot. And, I was a normal boy. I liked girls, but all the girls were white. So I wasn't allowed to mix with the girls, But there was one particular instance. I had developed a crush on one of the girls. Ellen was her name. I remember her name. At one class, in the middle of the class, there was a bit of laughter. They were passing around a note among the kids in the class. The girl that I had a crush on was the one that instigated the note. And the note said, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch the nigger by the toe. And that really hurt me, very deeply. So that was one of the memories that I remember till this day. So a lot of my days were spent alone, being a kid in a white school. I stayed at home in my room while other kids were playing basketball and stuff. I'd go to my room and just draw and paint. Yeah, I've created many pieces in my youth that was dealing with the pain from, segregation. I'm a self-taught artist. My parents had a really thick Bible, and it was illustrated by the Renaissance masters like Raphael, Michelangelo, Leonardo. And I used to take that book to my room and try and copy all their stuff. Their portraiture, their use of anatomy and shading. And that's how I actually learned. I taught myself how to do anatomy. And I was mainly painting in oils to begin with. And then in my teenage years, my mom discovered that I had asthma. I was allergic to oils. So at that point, I switched to acrylics and then later on watercolor. So I would say mostly realism inspires me. In college, my teacher, Audrey Fleck is her name. She was a realist, a super realist. And she's kind of was my mentor a little bit in school. She came up at a time where women were looked down on as being artists. And she has a lot of stories about, but she knew all the abstract expressionists, Jasper Johns, Jackson Pollock. And she had stories about how they were lecherous men. And she always felt like women didn't get the respect that they deserve, in the arts. But yeah, she's one of my favorite people that I've known. And when I got out of college, I got into watercolor. I did a watercolor self-portrait one time. I started experimenting with shapes, the shadows of the face, and I would make a distinct division between the shadows and the highlights and put different shapes within the face. And that was the first time I experimented with that style, and I've continued throughout the years. Art has been my whole life, no other jobs. And one form or another for art, whether it's graphic design or illustration, I've illustrated for New York Times, the ABC, NBC. So it's always been art. How I got into TV was when my early days in New York, so going around carrying my portfolio looking for a job. I was lucky. My ex-girlfriend was working for WPIX TV station in New York. So she was quitting the job. So there was a vacant, for the position. So she told me about it, and I applied, and I got it. And then from there, I was working one night, and I got a call. And the lady says, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm starting a new art department at NBC." So she said, "Would you like to come work for me?" I said, "Sure." So I went, and I got the job. And my work got on TV, and, a lot of people noticed it. One particular year, we won the award, my department won the award for the best illustration and graphics for TV for that year. I used my same style of art for the TV, same kind of portraiture type of, my style of doing the shapes and within the face and stuff. So I use that for TV too, I like portraiture, I like the human body and the human face. I love painting musicians and their expression that they have in their faces when they're making the music, the soulfulness, that they show. I am a musician myself, so I know a lot of black musicians. I've come in contact with a lot of black musicians. So they're, I feel an affinity with them, and the music, and our country, our society today gets all this culture and soul from the African American, and the music and the arts, theater, dance, I mean, it comes from suffering. From that suffering comes the art and the soul of the art, because we have a society that was meant to put us down, put us in chains, and they try to beat our culture out of us, But instead what happened was we survived, and we grew stronger, and we injected our culture into their culture. Yeah, I feel like that's where the African American strength comes from. Yeah, I don't really understand what motivates white supremacy, But I guess it's the one thing that justifies slavery, that the white race felt that they were superior, that they enslaved the other races, took the lands from the Native Americans, and enslaved a large portion of the black race. But yeah, I think it was a philosophy of society in general. And it filtered down through the art world, as blacks weren't sophisticated enough to be really true fine artists, Like they didn't have the capacity or sophistication to really appreciate the arts, or to be an artist, Now you see black art everywhere, It should be celebrated. People should care about it, because it was a struggle to get there. It's a part of this country, very important part. In order for a society to be full, it should be filled with art. When I got here, I asked some people from the arts community, how many black artists do you know that's here? And they had to think for a while, because there wasn't too many. They named one or two. So my whole goal was to try to introduce this community here in Reno to black art, African American art. I live for art, and that's what I do. It's what I was meant to do, honestly.